Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Church Communications. Always happy to be with you. I'm Katie Allred of churchcommunications.com, and I'm here with you today with Jason Hamrock from missionalmarketing.com. Love missional marketing. How are you doing, Jason?
I am great, Katie. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, so glad. I'm always happy to see you. And today we are talking about growing your church through felt needs. And
Hmm.
so it's a really important subject that I'm very passionate about. I think that Jason knows that about me. And
Mhm.
I'm excited for us to kind of just dive into it. Jason's an expert on helping churches with their felt need landing pages, with creating content for the web, for your church's website, so that people in your area can find your church. And so
Mm.
I have a few questions I want to ask Jason. And so I'm going to go ahead and start with the first one. So, how do churches use landing pages to reach more people that
Mm.
are dealing with a felt need, particularly?
Yeah, that's a great question. The usually, and I was guilty of this when I worked at my church, is we tend to build our websites for our own people. And
Right.
and we kind of expect them to find what they're looking. They have to crawl through our site to find the grief share class or the CR class, right? Or our baptism. We put stuff on there, but we just kind of put it on. You got a premarital class, come Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Great.
Right.
It's great for your own people.
Right.
Horrible for Google. It doesn't work for Google,
Right.
you know?
And there's
And so
so many
part of it
people
is
searching for this content online all the time, right? They're searching for
all the time.
premarital classes in my local area, or they're searching for just engage. What do I do now? But Google doesn't send them to a local thing, even though Google would like to. That's the thing. Google would prefer to send them locally, but it's not being found because the SEO of our websites is a mess.
It really is. And it has everything to do with content. As I always say, content is king in this space. It's not the king. We know who he is. But when it comes
Yeah.
to Google, if you don't have content, you're in trouble.
Right.
And not to say that UX is really important, colors, images, all that stuff is so important, engagement, all that kind of stuff. But
Hmm.
if you don't have content that actually Google crawls and says, oh, you must be an authority in that subject
Right.
matter, we're going to show you up organically. Or if you use like Google Ads or the ad grant,
Right.
there's a connection there. I always challenge churches, hey, right now, just kind of type in how to be forgiven or how to know who Jesus is or how
Right.
to fix my marriage or things that people are dealing with and see if your
Right.
church comes up.
Yeah, how to
Probably not going
pray.
to come up anywhere.
Very simple. Yeah, very simple questions. And honestly, it's going to send them to some random thing. But like I said earlier, Google would prefer to send them somewhere local, honestly. But it's just that
That's
there's
right.
not a local authority in prayer, or not a local authority in marriage, or not a local authority in counseling. Well, counseling, actually, you would probably find some counselors, of course, but would you find a church under
Mm,
counseling would be a question. And we have so many counseling resources. Many churches have
that's right.
so many free counseling resources to offer their communities, especially with mental health. I mean, I just was watching last night.
Yeah.
Jason, have you heard of this there's a new documentary called Childhood 2.0 about the dangers of social media?
Oh, well, I watched that the documentary on
The
the
social media dilemma, the dilemma or
dilemma,
whatever.
which was mind
Yeah,
blowing. But
I haven't watched that one yet, and I think I'm just,
oh,
like, terrified too. I think
yeah.
that's my problem, and so I watched this other one instead, which is about children and, like, the effects of social media on children, and I was just, like, just blown away by the fact that, it is happening, but there are so many mental health, anxiety
Mm.
just went through the roof in the in the last decade. I mean, the
Oh
minute
yeah, yeah.
smartphones, it was like 2011 when smartphones were adopted, like majority adopted.
Mhm,
And after
mhm.
that, it just took off like a hockey stick, straight up.
Oh
And
yeah.
I hate that for the church. But obviously, in the next, I think, couple of decades, mental health counseling, those kind of things are going to be really important. And
So
finding those
important.
resources on your church website is going to be astronomically important because we want the church to
Yeah.
remain relevant. And I think helping the church be found is more important than ever. And so I guess my
Yeah.
next question, this kind of sets us up for the next question, is how does the Google grant actually help drive traffic to these felt need traffic
That's right.
like landing pages?
So a couple thoughts on that. Number one is you got to learn about the Google ad grant. If I still talk to churches, they're like, what is that? Just go Google what is a Google grant, right? Or go to our website, missionmarketing.com. We have a page that talks exactly what it is and how it can benefit your church.
Right.
It's an amazing, amazing opportunity to drive a ton of clicks to your website. But here's the part of that. We talk about Google wanting to deliver something local. That's very, very true. Another truth is Google wants to deliver the best search result for the user, what they're searching. So if
Yes.
they're typing in something, Google is going to put on page one from the very first position on down what they think is the best search result for that keyword. That
Right.
makes sense, right?
Right.
If you don't have content that informs Google you're an authority
Right.
on that subject matter, forget it. Game over.
Right.
That's why I go, wait a minute. We at the church, we know Jesus intimately well. We are the
Right.
best. The church is the best source to talk about who Jesus is.
Right.
That's why if you ever search like who is Jesus, you're never going to find churches. And it's not because you're not an authority. It's because you don't put content on your website that informs Google you are the authority, especially locally. Right. So when you get back to the Google ad grant, when we work with churches, we want to help them understand that Google will deliver the ad if, when they look at the click URL, if that landing page, homepage, or some kind of a subpage actually speaks to what the ad, what somebody's searching for, because the ad will show.
Right.
And so we've, like you, I mean, we're super passionate about just informing churches to say, you've got to take content seriously.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to create content. By the way, church, you are creating content every week.
Right.
You have a Sunday morning sermon. Your pastor does.
Yes.
Amazing content. You're not putting it on your website to have a video maybe in Subsplash is not bad for your people. It'll never be found in Google. So we talk with churches about that. But
and labeling that content correctly, right? I think that's the most important thing, like creating descriptions with keywords and creating titles with keywords. Like we're not thinking about SEO. We'll name a sermon January 12th, 2020, Romans 12. And like, who's searching for that?
Nobody.
You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody is searching for that. I mean, maybe Romans 12, but you're not going to be the first one on Romans 12. I can tell you that. The Bible Gateway and all those Bible websites will be for Romans 12. So like, you need to figure out what is Romans 12 about, like, and how can we make it a felt need that this sermon is answering, because it is answering a felt need. Like, every sermon is answering a felt need. I don't know of hardly any sermons that aren't answering felt needs, whether they are prayer or they're, an actual need that you have, like a physical one. Every sermon is that. And so evergreen content, your church is creating it every week. And so we need to figure out how we can do that better, but I guess that's the next question. How do you go about building the content for felt need landing pages? And you really have a fun tool. I wanted to see it. So why don't you show it to us?
We figured it out. So I'm going to show you some landing pages that we deploy for churches that we engage with, and we get to manage their Google ad grant. These are free landing pages. On top of this, though, there's, with your sermon, you want to transcribe that sermon. You want that content on a page. So Google can't crawl a video. They can't crawl a PDF. They don't care about colors or images. They care about content. And so I'll take a second here and share my screen, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. And so this is what we call real life landing pages, and churches that we work with are getting these landing pages complimentary. It's a WordPress site. It's built like that. It's we made, the Missional Church doesn't exist. That's just kind of our guinea pig thing that we put in there. So we would put a church's logo here and their colors and call to actions. But these are all landing pages that actually speak to what the subject matter is. And if somebody is searching for these kind of keywords, these pages show up because Google crawls them and says, oh, you must be an authority on this subject matter. We're going to deliver that.
Right.
Now, it's really interesting. You said like anxiety, fear, grief, those keywords, especially since COVID hit, are like
Yes.
through the roof. And so I'll
Yes.
just click on this particular page, grief. And this is the idea. We want to help people sort of DIY.
Right.
You know, they're not looking for a church. They
Mm-hmm.
probably don't go to church. We
Mm-hmm.
know this. But they've got a need. They're struggling with grief,
Right.
or maybe their loved one is, maybe a mom or a dad who maybe they are, maybe their child is. And so when they start searching, we want to get an ad using the Google Ad Grant in front of this person locally. So they see your church and they see this ad, they click, and now this is what they're landing on, where they can kind of learn, here's some advice, here's what you
Right.
can do, and go further with some resources. But certainly we want to invite them to church. That's one thing we want them to do, is plan a visit or watch online or learn more about the church. I mean, this is about your
Yeah.
church, not us. We don't
Right.
care who is working. We want them to connect with you because we know that you have the
Yeah.
answers they're looking for.
It's
So
so crazy because it's such a simplistic idea. Like, that's what, I love about it. It is very simple. It's just the fact that we're not doing it, right? And so this is the easiest
we're not.
evangelism trick ever. I don't know like why we are thinking this is like out of the realm of evangelism, because this is evangelism at its most simplistic
Yeah.
form of helping
Yeah.
people in their time of need and being the answer for those needs. And helping bring Jesus physically to these people through the
Yeah.
way that they do it now, which is through their phone, right? We
Yeah.
search for all of our answers. We don't really ask our friends anymore because it's embarrassing to maybe ask your friend that
Oh,
you're dealing with
that's right.
grief. So you go to the internet.
Yep.
And having the church be that answer is what we want. We want to empower more people to do that. So, um, yeah, I love this,
Yeah.
Jason.
Yeah. You talk about this one right here, like this, talking to your child about race.
Right.
What a topic these days, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm always encouraging churches, that you can use. So we're spinning these up for a lot of churches, and again, it's complimentary for churches that we work with the Google Ad Grant, because this
Mhm.
thing, we've been doing this for quite a while, and we've just are now deploying these for there's like 70 some churches. We're on our way to several hundred,
Awesome.
but we're also telling churches, hey, we would love to, have you use this, but more importantly, if you want, you almost maybe want to take this content and just add it to your website as a page on your website, right?
Yeah.
It's ideal to have them, come to a landing page like this,
Right.
but almost more importantly, we just want
The content to be out
a
there.
mom or dad out there who's looking for help on how to talk to their kids about racial issues to recognize your church.
Yeah.
And so, like you just said, I mean, I would love it if churches would do this. They just don't. I mean, I didn't have time as a communication director. I was too busy doing all kinds of like I don't
Right.
have time to write content, is
Right.
what I always get from churches. This kind of solves, it
That
helps us solve
problem.
that issue because we're putting it
Yeah.
on there. Yeah.
For
Yep.
sure.
Yep.
Love it,
Yeah.
Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So be more than happy to share this with anybody who wants to learn more about it. Yeah.
For sure. Well, Jason, thank you so much. Is there anything else you would like to plug while we're here?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're really not using the Google Ad Grant, go to our website, learn about it. It's
Yes.
something that it literally will add $120,000 a year to your online Google search advertising budget. It
Yeah.
doesn't get any better than that. And we want to help churches is obviously we want to help people that are looking for a church locally.
Right.
Duh. Like we're going to run campaigns on that.
Right.
And we're going to run campaigns on online church, because now you can reach more than people just, 20 or 30 miles away from your campus or campuses. You might as well just expand that to 500 or 1,000 miles. Who cares? Right.
Yeah.
But then using it much deeper with like these landing pages that we have, it really helps you get more traffic. And we're really excited about where we're going with this, because it's not, we kind of want this to be a DIY. Well, we want to go a little bit deeper. We got some really cool plans. And the next time we talk about how we're going to somewhat funnel people to get them to say, here's my name and my email address, I want to learn more.
Yeah.
And that gets
I'm excited about
exciting,
that.
Yeah. Now you have a real person that church you can connect with, because they're saying they need some help.
Right. Yeah, I love it. I'm excited about that. Okay, well, that's a teaser for next time then, because I'm like, what are you? Wait, what? Huh? Okay, well, I guess we'll find out next time, guys. Well, thank you again,
That's right.
Jason, so much for hanging out. We really appreciate it. Church Communications, if you want to find out more about missional marketing, you can go to missionalmarketing.com and check them out and just get started with
Yep.
the Google Ad Grant and just learn more about it, learn more about what they can do for your church. Just appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Glad to help. Thanks, Katie.